Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. I am really excited about today's episode. I've got a very special guest with me, Doug Dwyer, who is the president and CSO of DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen. This is just such an honor to have you on to Builder Stories, Doug. We appreciate your time. I know you're a very busy man, but yeah, why don't you give us a little bit of background? Tell us about DreamMaker, how you got involved, what's the organization look like?
Yeah, so Eric, thanks for having me on, and fun to be here with you. And I hope that I can share some things that'll provide some value to the listeners today. So I would say, a good background about me to share is I really grew up in the franchise industry. And even before that, we had car washes, fast food restaurants, did catering. We even had a karate franchise, a family that it was called Kicks, a family that kicks together, sticks together. But managing black belts attitudes was a little more we wanted to take on long term. So we decided not to, scale that one up. But anyway, ultimately, when I got older and I took on a company called, that started the refinishing business, kind of tub and tile refinishing. And then back in 1995, I moved us into remodeling. And then by 1998, we decided, we're going to change the name of the company. And we went full service, kitchen and bath, interior remodeling back in June 15th of 99. So we just had, and it was a pleasure to have you stop at our reunion. We had our 25th anniversary. So it was great to have that. And so we just evolved over time into this category, and now we've become a leader in the space. And we really specialize. 80% of what we do is kitchen and bath, and then the rest interior remodeling, some exterior remodeling as well. But really focusing on a niche, and that's what we've learned over time is you can be a jack of all trade and masters of none. And the idea in remodeling, at least for us, one of our brand positioning statement from franchisor to franchisee is strong margins and quality of life. And so what I've learned is you can make strong margins and lose your health, lose your family, you lose your marriage, all that kind of stuff. But to have strong margins and a quality of life, it's a lot harder to pull that one off. And so we really focus in on that. So a key to success is you got to sell at the right margin. You really have to dig in that. And Eric, I could share more about that, but that's kind of a high level where I got to where I am today.
Yeah, that's great. And, we have the pleasure and the honor to be able to work with many of your franchises. How big is the organization in total today?
Yeah, so we're in 24 states with 44 locations, and our vision is by 2030 to be at 100 locations.
Wow, that's awesome. I love hearing that. It was a really great event that we got to participate with you at your last kind of your annual conference that you put on and you bring everyone together. I mean, that was just a top-notch event. Like I was not expecting to have such a high quality, you guys had everything from like the AV to the food to the, everyone was just so passionate, so excited. It seemed like a very, very engaged event where they like got a lot of value in education, networking. Like I was just very impressed by the event that we got to go to a couple months ago in Fort Worth.
Yeah, it was awesome to have you guys there, and you guys are definitely a strategic part of what we're doing. We've had our own technology, spent millions of dollars on it over decades, and then they get acquired. Our developer gets acquired. We have to make a change, and went to another company that was good for a season, but we're glad that we found your organization because you're committed to the long term. Yep. You're committed to keeping it private. Which is important to us. And, so in looking at the complexity of running a remodeling business at the level that we want to run it at and continue to evolve as we've developed what we call a remodeling stack, as you know, but the listeners would know that. So if you think of like a small brick wall and you got all these components, so JobTread would be one of those components in that stack that we're using. And then I think something interesting we're doing is innovating is creating a data warehouse, like a data hub. A lot of terms for that, but it's so no matter what software we use, we're going to own the data. And another, I'll give you guys another plug is that you have open source, right? So with the APIs, we're able to get the data very easily to own it. So if it, we hope nothing ever happens that we have to change. But if it does, we've got the data, and you guys have been very fair about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm curious. Let's kind of focus a little bit about, each of these franchisees. Like, what's the target size for when it makes sense for somebody to look at, joining DreamMaker, and kind of what, have you seen like certain like qualities or attributes or maybe, revenue size, number of employees? Like, is there kind of a target profile that you look for, that that they're at that right size and stage of their company where it makes sense, for them to join you all?
Yeah, so I think the best way to answer that is just tell you a couple stories, right? So the first would be a smaller remodeling company in a little small town called Swainsboro, Georgia, 7,000 population. So we're talking small. I wouldn't award a startup franchise in an area that small, but these folks, the guy was a home builder, and to survive the Great Recession, he had to pivot and get into remodeling. He's doing about $400,000 a year, which is a little small. Typically, that size may not have the economics to join us, because it takes a couple $100,000 with a conversion or more, depending on their situation. Anyway, so these guys came in, and they've more than doubled their business, and the gentleman owns it's having his 8th child right now, so he's still able to manage quality life with all of them under the age 16 or 18, something like that. So
wow,
that's a lot of family to manage and to build and grow a business. But they do an excellent job, and the big thing for us is we teach people how to sell at the right margin. How do you have the sales skills to sell at the right margin? How do you have the marketing to get enough leads so you can sell at the right margin? There's a lot of elements to that. And so in our franchise disclosure document, in our item 19, we publish here's our average gross profit margin produced for full service remodeling is a 43.6 last year. But our top group, the top 25%, hit 51.5.
Wow.
So that's a lot different. The average remodeler in more design build or general contracting is, they're down in the 20s. Not any specialty remodelers, they're up higher, but let's say they're at a 50 margin, but they're also spending, let's say 8 to 15% in marketing dollars to get the job. So if they're getting a $10,000 job, it costs them $1,000 to $1,500 to get it. Where as we mature, we want to see us investing about 3 to 5% on that. So to shift gears to a larger organization up in Omaha, a gentleman and a partner, they were doing about $1.8 million when they joined us, and he already made good money working lots of hours, but he made well into 6 figures, not beginning 6 figures, and then he wanted to go to the next level. He wanted stronger margins and a better quality of life, and so they have done awesome. I mean, they have blew up their net profit. I mean, it went to a whole nother level that they've never achieved. And now they're working on the quality of life and getting better balance with that. So anyway, so those two stories are examples. So it really depends on the economics and the maturity. Do they have the mindset to want to build and scale a business, or are they more technician minded and they get too caught up in the products instead of business?
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, what would you say like the biggest benefits are? The reason that these business owners are choosing, to become part of the larger franchise community.
Yeah, actually, just what I shared. Really, they want stronger margins. They want to make more money. At the end of the day, they want to have more time with their family and be involved in their community. And at the end of the day, like we just helped resell a location in Bakersfield, California. and they had a nice exit with that. So it gives them something that they can actually sell. Most small remodeling companies are worth, 10, 20 cents on the dollar for their equipment, but they really don't have a business to sell because they don't really have an EBITDA or owner's discretionary income that adds up to enough to really get anything for it. Or actually, what's really interesting is there's a website called Biz Buy Sell. So if you're looking to buy an existing business, and so we have a franchise in the Woodlands in Texas, worked for ExxonMobil, did extremely well, ex-military guy, and 10 years with ExxonMobil, made great money, but he wanted to be more involved in his community. He wanted to do all these things that he didn't get to do in corporate America, and he wanted to see satisfying clients, and he wanted to make a difference in his community. And so we were the vehicle that helped him do that. But for the existing business, it's really strong margins and quality of life that they're looking for. Their definition may be vary a little bit, but generally they fit under that umbrella.
Yeah, great. So I guess kind of thinking about it from another perspective, like if they were to join, what is it like, to go from kind of they're running their own, business, kind of doing their thing, regardless kind of where they're at, in the process, to now they're part of this larger community. Like what should they expect, from transitioning into that? Are they going to get, additional resources? Are there back-end services? It sounds like there's a lot of education, training that comes into play as well. But like, kind of what else is it like to go from, running your own business, kind of off on your own to becoming, part of the DreamMaker community?
Yeah. So the good news is, we've been in business as DreamMaker 25 years. So we've had a lot of learning over time. So we have very thorough training and helping our franchisees. We even, from a marketing standpoint, we'll even go in for a couple of days and mystery shop competitors to help build a marketing plan to scale the company up versus, winging it, right? Or not really just doing referral repeat, it's great. That's a big part of our plan. But if that's all you do, you get kind of weak with marketing and you get weak with sales. So you want to keep those strong. So you want to have the right blend, if you would. So somebody coming in, it's going to be like, let's take the guy in Omaha that was, just a couple of years ago, and looking at it, it's getting the different systems in place, right? So whether it's the office manager and the job description that goes with that and how they scale, we have a process called the stage of growth map. How do you go from 1.2 million to 1.7 to 2.2 to 2.7? So all these different jumps. When do you make those hires? So when they come on board, we have to kind of do a gap analysis, where they're at with all the different systems. But a big thing is we're going to get them on our accounting system, right? Because we have a very sophisticated accounting system. So it's going to be accrual accounting based on percentage of completion, based on work in progress, so that you're really dialed in to maximize your profits, and then estimating, right? And so the JobTread tool is a great tool to use for that, and estimating, and then you get into sales. So how do you sell at a higher margin if you're not used to that? And a lot of it's head trash. So we help them, teach them the process of selling, the psychology of selling, and getting conviction about selling. How do you get convinced yourself that it's worth it? And so that's what we help. We help remodelers. Most remodelers don't charge what they are worth or what they need to have strong margins. So we help people have the confidence to do that. And that's a process. I mean, that can some people take baby steps to get there over 6, 9, 12 months. And then others, they'll pull the Band-Aid off and just follow the system right out of the gates. But they have weekly meetings with their franchise coach that helps them overcome it. They're immediately part of a peer group that they're growing with and connecting with. After they're with us a year, they can become part of a higher level peer group, next level group, where they actually visit each other, visit one of the members twice a year for 3 days and act like an informal board of directors. And then our annual team conference, our reunion. So we have one franchise coach for every 20 to 25 franchises. That's not counting technology coaches. That's not counting marketing, our marketing team. That's just a business coach. And so without getting into training, that gives you at least a glimpse. It's a lot. We have to plan it out methodically to help them integrate things piece by piece to make that transition.
Yeah, I mean, so you are really investing in these businesses. You are getting in there and learning what they are, what they're doing today, where their challenges are, where maybe they have gaps in their systems, their processes, maybe even their team, and you're helping get them set up. You're giving them a foundation for them to build their business and take it to the next level. It's kind of what I'm hearing here.
Absolutely, yeah. We had a new group come on in California that was running one guy had a $3 million business. Other guys had that's a general contracting business from, painting to additions, right? Everything. And then another guy, his partner, has a custom cabinet shop. So they converted the $3 million business and the residential side of the custom cabinet shop to be DreamMaker. And so they're going through the evolution, and they're in that process right now. They're in their first year of really making all these transitions.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've seen kind of firsthand from our perspective. I mean, just the templates and the tool that you're giving them with JobTread is. I mean, it is like you guys spend a lot of time and a lot of energy really flushing out these details to where you've made it very turnkey, so that all of these franchises can quickly get it implemented for their business.
Yeah.
And then the coaching. I mean, like I love hearing that you're giving them coaches to help them build better skills and better the sales. You're right. Like it's such a challenge for so many people who may not have that that kind of either traditional sales background or that have gone through sales training. I've seen so many people, and there's a lot of different coaching groups where you'd have to go join and kind of pay for that, and then like to have like a peer group, kind of that round table group where they go and they're meeting. I mean, it sounds like you got that all built in there. You're providing marketing support, back end office, accounting. I mean, it seems like really like this is like a total package that's helping these guys, like regardless where they're at. You're confident that you could take a remodeler and take them from wherever they're at to a very successful, profitable business, that they can spend more time and have better quality of life. I mean, that's quite the guarantee there. I mean, I love it.
Yeah. So the thing is, they have to be a right match for us. So our code of values is foundational to all of our systems. It's a big part of our system. And like one of our first code of values is we believe in superior service to our customers, our community, and to each other's members of the DreamMaker team. And so they have to be committed to that. We believe in counting our blessings every day in every way. So an attitude of gratitude, right? Not a woe is me attitude. We believe success is a result of clear, cooperative, positive thinking. We believe management should seek out and recognize what people are doing right, treat every associate with respect. So that's just a few of them. And then there's an operationalized version that gets more tactical, like make all the agreements you're willing, able, and intend to keep. And then communicate any potential broken agreement at the first appropriate opportunity to all parties concerned. So if that's attractive to somebody listening or attracted to people, it's like, wow, I've never wrote those down, but that's how I like to live my life. So if that foundation's there, because we're going for above average folks here, and it's not that they have to be rocket scientists or be a millionaire already, but they do have to be sharp. They do have to desire. They do have to care about people, and we help with that. So and then I like what you said, backtracking a little bit, like with JobTread. Yeah, we've highly customized JobTread, right? We've got a lot of process and systems, and how do we mold and tweak all those things to have it run like a smooth machine for our network and system? And that's what the great thing you mentioned about peer groups is that our people are on the same system. So when they meet, the common denominator is the code of values, which is part of the system. And they go, hey, no, you're missing it right here. So you got these 6 other people going, no, it's not just your coach telling you this or the DreamMaker system. There's 6 other people going, dude, you're missing it. And so it accelerates growth because we're on the same system versus having a window and siding door company talking to a general contractor. Those are totally different businesses, and you can get one bit of advice, but you don't understand the whole context, and you can really screw your business up. Just from like the example I gave on marketing, like the marketing investment or spend, as you could say, is just astronomically higher for a window siding door type business, tub liner business, than it is kitchen and bath.
So are you, it sounds like there's like kind of like a full application process where you're really spending time vetting all of the people who I guess, is it like, are you like applying to join, and then you guys, like, do you fly out there? Do you spend time kind of looking under the hood to see where they're at?
Yeah, so we had them engage in what we call an 8-step mutual evaluation or discovery process. And so the first call is really going to be like a Zoom, and let's get to know them. What are your goals, dreams, and desires? What do you want to accomplish? What's your background? We're going to see, is there enough of a match to even have a second call? And the second call is a brand review, where we spend 45 minutes, hour and 15 minutes going through our brand and educating people what it's about. So, and then there's the financial qualification process. So, and I was just talking to a candidate out of Canada that wants to relocate and open here in the U.S. and all the process in doing that. And he's very motivated, and he's a good guy. But before we make a final decision, I want to meet that guy in person. So my office is here, based in Waco, Texas, the home of Fixer Upper, right? So anyway, home of DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen, and so we want to meet people in person, and that's the 6th step. If we invite them to Waco, it's 80% of the time we're going to move forward with them. But even then, a couple of years ago, turned down a guy I really liked in California. And he was right in the Hollywood, like, gosh, it's so prime. It's ridiculous how much things cost out there. But it just wasn't a right match. It wasn't a right match. We really didn't think we could support him within what we had. He had visions different than we had, and so we had to say no.
Yeah. So how do you handle, like, I mean, if someone was to relocate, or let's say you've got multiple people, like, do you ever have multiple franchises within like the same geographic area? Like, would they ever end up competing, or do you try to like kind of have a sign sort of like dedicated, like, is there one person in Dallas and one person in Houston, or like, how do you kind of think about sort of from a geographical standpoint, making sure that they don't end up competing with each other?
Yeah. So we give an exclusive territory, meaning we're not going to put another DreamMaker inside that same territory.
Okay.
Now, somebody to have all of Dallas, that's just too huge. Years ago, we would have thought you needed more territory, but one of our top 3 franchisees is in Springfield, Illinois, 205,000 population, and he's in our top 3, and our number 1 guy, the average of our top 25 is a little over 3 million. And so this guy's above average, right? So in 200, well, if you count some of the farmland, it's 210,000. And so if you really, we have a design center model where we're going to have a design center, not a showroom where like a Home Depot where you got 10 displays of kitchens, but a design center where we show a good mix of kitchen and bath and a selection room, and that's a differentiator for us in how we use that and how we work with them to stand out in the marketplace. And in our sales system, we are heavy training on sales, because you have to know how to sell from an adult standpoint that's very comfortable to people, just like you and I talking. Just a very comfortable conversation, but you help lead them through the process. And that's one of the DreamMaker differences, is our code of values. And when they meet us, these guys are different. They're trying to pull out of me what I can't quite figure out inside me, instead of pushing their ideas down my throat.
Yeah.
And so that's where we win a lot of businesses. We really are a people-centric company versus just profit-centric.
Yeah. I mean, I got to imagine, just, again, having the DreamMaker kind of brand, really helps elevate every single individual, franchise, because, they're part of something so much bigger that's coast to coast. Surely that's got to give a lot of confidence to any potential homeowner looking to get a remodel job, they know that, that business isn't just going to kind of be, fly by night, take the money and run. They're there, and they've got the whole brand behind them.
Yeah, no, you keyed right in on it. It shows like, I'll pay a little more to go with this brand, and they have to because you're paying overhead. But even past that, yes, I remember visiting a franchisee many years ago in Minneapolis, and I sat down at the closing table with the wife who had kind of did everything up to that point. Then the husband came because now it's writing checks. And it was 2 bathrooms for $70,000 combined between these 2 small bathrooms. And the lady says, you know what? I said, so what got you to choose DreamMaker over other folks? And she goes, well, number one, your name, DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen, told me that you specialize. And my concern is I could call a general contractor as a good reputation, but are they really going to have the best knowledge in what I want to do? And is my small bathroom going to be important to them?
Yeah.
And then the third thing was, she goes, the third reason was when y'all answered the phone and spoke to me, I could tell you were taking me through a process. Somebody wasn't winging it. And she goes, those are the initial reasons that got me in the door, and then just kept getting validated, and she became a client.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you all so let's say somebody comes and maybe, they don't have a great website, or they're struggling to get leads, from a marketing standpoint, they're just not up to snuff. Their SEO, their ads, they're just not there. Are you all providing, that marketing, the website, the advertising, or are you more kind of, teaching them how to manage all of that themselves?
So as you hear some people say to a question like that, yes. But it's yes to both, right? So, yes, we have websites that we launch for our franchisees once they're truly on board. So we'll launch it, we'll work with them. They'll have to invest money in SEO, pay-per-click, but we're helping them do that right out of the gates, right up front. And our URL is 25 years old, so that helps. And then someone in our marketing department, we've got a tremendous marketing team with top talent in the industry, and they will help build the marketing plan for that first year. And we have what we call the 5 pillars of marketing, and online marketing is one pillar. So there's 4 other pillars that you build that plan from, and you really need. We have found 6 to 8 proactive marketing techniques going all the time to have a really healthy marketing plan.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of contractors struggling, with marketing and just really kind of getting the face of their company, helping people find them, understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I think, there's tremendous value if you can immediately step in and give them a marketing plan and give them some direction, give them the tools that they need to be successful. I mean, that's huge. And I mean, you guys have, obviously very good, design as well. So I assume if somebody doesn't have their own, graphic designer, web designer, like you're providing them kind of some templates and things that they can immediately run with.
Oh, absolutely. And then we've expanded our team, and, we help, really support and guide them heavily really with social media, how to leverage that, because you're so busy, they can't get to everything. So we've upped it to provide even more support to help them do a better job with those things. But you can't forget about face-to-face marketing. And it's how do you, I remember years ago hiring a guy, this is 20 years ago, hired a guy, paid him $5,000 to teach me his home show system. So just that one tactic out of 50-something tactics, it was $5,000, days of our time, training with this guy and really fine-tuning it. How do you do home shows at a high level? How do you get maximum benefit out of that? So really, running a great business is just a ton of best practices integrated together smoothly, and then executed. And that's the key. It's like our process flow map. Like when a lead comes in the door, we have a map that shows the green would be what all the sales process looks like across this map flow chart. And then it drops down into the blue, that's production, goes up to administration, office management's red, and then you got an orange color, a peach orange color that is accounting. And so there's 180 stops points to go from a lead to a closed job. It's done.
Wow.
And so when do you have the handoff meeting? How does that handoff need to be done between sales and production? And what is the job site binder? That being a lot of electronic these days, but what does that look like? And what data are you sharing so the customer's informed, they feel empowered, and you're still leading it, but you're giving them it's a very intrusive type project, of a remodeling. You're tearing somebody's house apart. It's like they're really high in the beginning on the emotional roller coaster, and then they tank. And, oh my gosh, it looks horrible. And then they come up at the end. So how do we support that through that? So we're looking at ways to create, defining moments along the way and make a cheerleader customer by how we interact with them, in all those things. And if their son just broke his leg last week in a football game, it's football season starting, let's send him a can of cookies and just stand out. Just be that company that's, above average, doing things that most companies don't do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you describe kind of what's sort of the typical, the typical state of the accounting and the back office, and like how organized, like do you find that a lot of times people are just really struggling from a financial management standpoint, from a job costing? Like, are their books clean and organized when they coming in here, or are you more often than not having to really do a big overhaul and help sort of clean all that up and bring them, into your system?
So some are for lack of a better term, doing it out of a shoebox, right? And this could be a $1 million plus business. I'm not talking about.
I've seen it.
It's a little mind blowing that they made it to that point. But yeah, so it can be tragically bad to. They have some good. At least they're doing some good general accounting, but they're not doing the high level stuff we're doing with accrual accounting, work in progress, percentage of completion. They're not job costing on a regular basis. They don't know how to do that. How do you organize that? Where do you fit that in? And a lot of it comes back to margin. You got to be able to afford enough people to free up the time so you can run a great business.
Yeah.
And so that's just a practical reality a lot of people miss. You cannot make that stuff up with volume. You will just go out of business faster. And we've had, I had one, I'm not going to say who it was, but one guy, he proved it really in a blaze of glory, blew the company up because you got to have the accounting and the estimating. And then you have to have, the post-job analysis to make those corrections between now and the next job. Don't wait 6 months and repeat the same mistake 6 months because you just lost a ton of margin because you're not on top of the basics. And for us, if you think about, critical systems and remodeling is, financial, marketing, sales, design, production, communication, personnel. And then you got the people systems of, we start with the ownership of the company, and then we go leadership, management, administration. And then we look at the physical assets. So you can't just throw all that stuff in one basket. You got to be able to break it apart. And I remember when it was in one basket. Look, we didn't start where we are today. We are highly advanced from where we were. And so if somebody can join now, they can do like the guy in Omaha, just like quantum leap changes, stuff that 15 years ago would have took longer to do that. We didn't have the systems structure or the level experience that we have today to provide it. So it's cool to see somebody transform their business and their life.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned earlier, kind of about getting into financial troubles. If you do see that, do you all provide, any sort of financial backstop, or, is there, working capital loans that are provided, or like, if somehow somebody gets out in front of their skis, like, are you guys set up to help with that, or do you kind of help negotiate maybe with a bank or a lender?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely help connect people with good financial choices. So Eric, really the first thing you have to do is the discipline. So our franchise coach is going to have a disciplined review going through their financials. We another system that we have is called Quivinci, but it's a system that logs into QuickBooks so we can pull the data down and we've built a report card on all the KPIs that we know, like if you're outside these thresholds, you're going to be in trouble. And so that's reviewed on a regular basis. So our coaches are helping the franchisee be more disciplined because of their regular meetings and walking through and keeping an eye on it. But then it's also the balance sheet, because you got to keep an eye on what we call work in progress and customer deposits, and balancing those accounts and not thinking that work in progress money is your money to spend. That's for that job. And so we have them set up 3 bank accounts, right? So they're going to have a withholding account. They're going to have, a kind of a normal checking operating account, and then they're going to have a saving expansion account. So it's just the discipline of those. That sounds really simple, but so many people, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
There's what's the old say, you know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know. So what we bring to the table is we help reveal all the you don't know that you don't know stuff. But usually why people join us is they know enough that, like, I know I don't know this, and I got to imagine that there's some I don't know, and then they get in and they go, oh my gosh, I had no clue. And it's not that they're not smart people or bright people or do great work. Nothing like that. It's just usually profound knowledge doesn't come from within; it comes from outside.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, it sounds like they're basically just getting like a virtual controller. They're getting a CFO if they don't have somebody who's very good with understanding the financials, the cash flow, how all the money needs to be managed, because that is one of the biggest challenges for all businesses. I mean, especially startups, like, managing your cash flow is the number one thing that could sink a construction company. And it sounds like they're immediately getting that protection from you all because that you can be proactive. You've already seen all the possible things that could happen, to a business. And so you can step in so much, earlier on to say, hey, like these aren't good decisions you're making. You're not managing your finances well.
Yeah.
And you can sort of help coach them into why and how they need to improve that before it's too late.
Yeah, I tell you, there's a tool we created, I forget how many years ago now, but it's a cash flow projection tool. So not just your normal accounting kind of stuff. We had to custom build this, but it's, you can project out, 3 to 6 months based on the number of leads you got in, the number of design retainers you have signed, and the number of contracts you have signed. We can project out cash. And then the cool thing about it is you can go, wait a minute, if I got 3 lead carpenters right now, if I could get a 4th one on, I could push that work back over and my profitability would go up tremendously. And so that's a tool that gives you insight. Well, I mean, most people don't have any tools like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's a fun tool. We've really helped people have breakthroughs and utilizing that.
Yeah. I think, Doug, one of the things that just I've always been so impressed with your entire team is that, you guys not only, really focus on the people and the core values and making sure that, everyone is passionate, they're leading, as good role models and good citizens out there in the community, but you guys also have a great handle on the numbers and the data and the finances, and like it just you've got both sides of the house, which I rarely find that. And then to see how you're passionate about helping so many other businesses, you've got this like this vehicle set up, this community that is like very, very scalable, and that's what your whole team at the HQ is so passionate about. That's just so exciting for me to see, because so many people they need that. They need that help. This is such a great opportunity, and it's not like, oh, I'm giving something up because I'm going and joining this, and becoming a franchisee. It's like, no, you're going to actually, make way more money and be way more successful and have such a better life by making these steps and by transitioning into this larger community of just infinite resources and knowledge. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, honestly, like, why would they not choose to join you in DreamMaker, Doug? Like, what are the biggest reasons that they don't do it?
Fear, right? So fear could be a big one. One is people just, they don't know. They don't know we're out there, right? So it's really a lack of knowledge. And then Others could be, I had a guy in the East that he was, 65, and it was just too later in life. It's like, I'm not sure I want to put it in and scale. And so age can come into play, things like that. But I really think it's lack of knowledge, not knowing what you are pulling out of me on this podcast here, interview, is most people don't know it. Like there's, it's been a great conversation of, all the best practices, because like our average gross profit produced 43.6, or our top group being at 51.5. Most people don't believe that's possible.
Yeah.
They don't believe they're worth it, and they are worth it. The reality is, my opinion is, if you're not at a 40 margin, now you could be doing commercial, big scale, there's day rates and other things involved too. But the reality is, if you're not at least at a 50% markup or 67% markup, and you show up on time, you deliver on your promises, then you know what? Your customers win and you're losing.
Yeah.
And so again, we help people get that confidence, because they're bringing a design center, they're getting all the training and coaching, they've got this new, this website, and we're helping them optimize it. So and then the coaching, and then it's not just the coaching from us at headquarters, it's the peers, right? Because they're learning from each other, and camaraderie, like you got to experience at our reunion. It just helps them go to the next. It helps give breakthroughs, right? Gives them breakthroughs that you just don't get on your own. You don't get that many. And so, like, when we talk about, human development, you got to hear things 7 times before you change. And that's a lot when you actually think about it. I can't tell you how many times a franchisee said, "Hey, you won't believe what I did. I staged the job like had everything there before we ever started the job, and got it together, and man, we got the job done early, and we beat our margin." And I'm like, "Oh, really? That's great." And it's like, we've been saying that till we're blue in the face, but we're people, and he had to own it, and that's fair. And there's things I take a long time to change. So if we can accelerate that with the peer groups, right, and panel discussions at our reunion, and then working with their coach, then the breakthroughs happen quicker. You get progress quicker. So yeah, can you do some of this on your own? You could, but how many decades and how much money do you want to spend to get there? And so to me, why reinvent the wheel? Get there quicker. And one day I was on a different interview, and I said, one thing I recommend is don't try to do this on your own. Get a coach, get part of some kind of group, or become a franchise if you really want it, I believe, at the highest level, because as you said, Eric, we're bringing all these elements together that typically somebody only has 1 or 2 of those, maybe 3, and we have like 7 different elements that we're bringing together that really help people get to the next level.
Yeah, that's totally, I mean, like you guys, it's not just though like a coaching group. I mean, I highly recommend people get a coach as well. If you don't, if you feel like you're struggling, you feel like you don't know how to keep growing, if you're struggling in one area or another, there is definitely a group there. You can hire coaches, advisors, mentors. You can find people to help you. And I'm a big believer in, like, instead of just sitting there spinning your wheels, like go take a proactive step. But like at the end of the day, like, and I've had coaches too. I mean, at the end of the day, though, like, there's kind of just sort of that commitment during that time period. But like with you all, you have a vested interest in making sure they're successful. You're not going to just at the end of this, a coaching session, going to just walk away and go on to the next thing. Like, you have that investment in these companies to make sure that they really get it and that they implement it. And you're going to hold them accountable because you got your systems and dashboards and you can benchmark them. Like, if the things that you're saying are firing and if they're like getting implemented or not. And I think that just seems like, again, it's a whole nother level of becoming part of something much bigger than just a coaching group,
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to do it on your own. And coaches are if you can't afford a franchise, because it's an investment to make that transition, So if you can't afford it, get a coach, become part of a peer group.
Yeah.
That's definitely, there's huge value in those. There's definitely huge value in those, but again, with those, there's limitations to it, like you're saying. They're on different systems, and it's just harder. We have found it's harder to break through. And I come from a background of a company that my family built called the Dwyer Group, which is now called Neighborly, and Neighborly now is about 32 brands in 9 countries worldwide, with about 5,500 locations, doing about $4.5 billion now in system-wide sales. So that's where the history I come from. The reason we have such good systems and so advanced for a company with 44 locations. And frankly, I'm not interested. Yes, I want to get to 100 locations, then 200, but I don't care for 1,000 or anything. I want strong, stable, profitable growth done with excellence. That's what I want. I don't really, numbers for numbers' sake. That's not it. Let's help people. Let's change lives. For me, I'm real driven by my faith. So it's God first, people second, and and because my faith, I'll work crazy hard to help people succeed and go the extra mile, go the third mile. That's probably a fault of mine. I'll stick with people longer than when it's like, maybe we should just call this over if they're not willing to follow the systems. But we're just want to see people really succeed and do well.
Yeah, no, I can attest to. I have seen that time and time again with you. Being part of your annual event, seeing just how the franchises and how they talk about their experience working with you and everyone on your team. I mean, hearing your wife get up and speak about, how she has seen how this has been such an important passion of yours to where you may give a little bit more than you should, but like that's just, you wear your heart on your sleeve, and it's very apparent, to everybody around you. I've always loved that about you, Doug, and anybody who has the opportunity to come shake your hand and get to talk to you. Like I very much encourage everybody. It's just you got a lot of great energy and a very good heart and passion. One thing though, I want you to kind of maybe spend a little bit more time digging into and really help people understand. So what is this financial commitment? I think that people maybe just don't know or understand, like, what does it take for them to become part of to become a franchise?
Sure. So it's going to depend, on the kind of business they have, what's going on. Do they have a location? Because the design center build out, you're looking at $120,000.
And so if they don't have a design center currently, then that is a requirement that they need to build out and have a design center. You have found that is paramount to sales and to successful projects. You need to have a design center. That's a hard rule.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a new franchisee out of Utah. I remember they're like, they had a commercial contracting company and home builder and sold real estate. Kind of diverse, and the wife was very very frugal and fearful, actually. And but she was like, "Oh my gosh, that was the best thing. I'm so glad you held our feet to do that, because the result that they got, it just differentiates you in the process. And as you mentioned, it very astutely, is like it lets the client know you're going to be around. Yeah, you didn't just put all this money in there to take my money and run. We can find you. You're not. It's going to be hard for you to hide because you actually have a physical location. So that economics, and then there's marketing. If you're not spending on marketing, we're going to want you to. We have to assess that anywhere from a certain amount of dollars we're going to want to dedicate to marketing. If your business is cash flowing, then you don't need any personal living expense. That lowers the amount of money that you need. But then there's technology they have to invest in with us. I mean, you guys are a piece of that stack. And so with all of that, typically it's going to be around $200 to $250 for a conversion for an existing business. Okay. Where maybe $300, could be $400. It depends on what's going on with the business, but I'd say $200,000 to $300,000 for a conversion to get started, and for a startup, It's more like 450.
And is that cash that they need like day one, or is that, can they, kind of finance it over a couple months, or like, is that like you need the startup capital today?
Yeah, we need to see that they have the capital, like, maybe we signed agreements and the SBA loan's been approved and it's just not funded yet. So we can get started down the road, at least to get started, but then can't really, we get started and then we're going to have to pause until that all the funds go through, because you don't want to lose momentum. So there's some setup stuff that doesn't matter, the first 4 or 5 weeks of training, that can be done, but then the money needs to be in by then. So yeah, they're going to need it. They're going to need it because, one of the greatest reasons people fail a business is they're underfinanced. Yep. And we're just not in the business of being risky like that. We'll take risk. Business is risk, but risky is just kind of, being stupid.
So, but it sounds like you still value an entrepreneur, a startup, as long as they can come up with some capital to show that they're fully invested in making this a success. You don't have to be a 10 or 20 year, existing business. You do take on new businesses as long as they can come up with the capital.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think the youngest one, but yeah, if somebody was in business just a year or two, that doesn't matter. We do startups. We do people coming out of corporate America. So that's we can do either one very well. And so our growth plan is to have 1/3 of our growth come from conversions and 2/3 from startups.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, again, I got to imagine, just like when you're showing up, to try to win a project, going to try to get funding and financing for this venture, having the DreamMaker brand has got to make a tremendous impact and bring a lot of confidence to any lenders or investors. Again, they know that this isn't just somebody who's going to take the money, blow through it and be out of business in 6 months. They're joining a program that has had, 25 years of success. Yeah. So to some extent, I mean, again, I keep hearing this. I'm like, man, this is such a no-brainer. If you want to get into remodeling and, this is something that, like, you understand the space, but like you could go at this for probably 5 years and probably, still struggle, versus you could join DreamMaker. And I mean, what would you say that ramp up period looks like? If a new startup started, on January 1, would you expect in that first year that they're, successfully operating? They're, what would you expect the revenue might look like and their profits?
Yeah, we're governed by the Federal Trade Commission. So any financial projections I have to keep within item 19. Gotcha. So I know the numbers. I'd be, happy to share, but it would limit it would limit me being able to share your podcast with people. So I want to keep that. So
can't make financial promises. I totally understand.
Yeah. So the thing is, what I can tell you is, on a startup, we want them to have 12 months of personal living expense. Okay. So that gives you an idea. So we're not, so we want to be cautious. And you may not need it all, but let's make sure we plan prudently. Again, risky can hurt you. Risky can put you out of business. Risky can hurt you. So we want to do risk, not risky.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, again, I got to believe, and again, you've seen the numbers that you know firsthand. I mean, I got to imagine the average, ramp up and the average success of a startup going through your program versus a startup going at it on their own. I mean, it's got to be just a night and day difference. Like, your chances of success with you are probably through the roof versus, not doing it.
Our largest franchisee, he'll say, he said, it's on a video on our website. He goes, if you're planning to get into this business, he recommends us, but he goes, I don't recommend you do it on your own because the learning curve so difficult. And in the franchise world, there's a old saying that says, in franchising, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Yeah. Right. It's still your business, and yet you're licensed to use our brand name, operating system, and ongoing support. And then, we want to help you achieve strong margins of quality of life. So So a favorite story of my wife. So we had an annual convention with the Dwyer group. So we have brands like Mr. Rooter Plumbing, AirServe, Mr. Appliance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So my wife's first reunion to go to was 2008. And she's sitting in the audience, and it's, there's, 1,200 people in the audience, whatever it was. And people are going up and giving awards. I'm going up for my brand, giving the awards out. And the thing that caught her attention was more than half of the people that went up that won Franchisee of the Year said, the first 2 or 3 years or 5 years, I kind of bucked the system. I didn't follow the system. Then I finally said, you know what, I'm going to use the system. and man, it really works. And I'm standing in front of you today. So that really is, that, as Michael Gerber says, the system is the solution. And the system is the solution to leverage things and get to the next level.
Yeah. One other thing I want to kind of drill into a little bit more. I mean, obviously, coming up with the financing is maybe one of the two big things that might be hard for people to do. The other one that you brought up was fear.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, and I'm curious kind of a little bit more about this fear. I mean, is it fear that, like, what happens if I, come up with all this money and then, like, it's not a good fit, or I'm not successful, or is it fear about, like, giving up control or losing, that feeling of you are still managing your own business? Like, do people feel like they have, now kind of this to report to others, or like, does it feel like, like what kind of, like, fear, do you see other than kind of the financial aspects that might cause people to not want, to move forward with you?
Yeah, as I think about it more as we're talking about, I think folks not realizing, a lot of people think, well, they'll help me with marketing, I'll go hire a marketing company. Oh, they're going to help me with sales, I'll go hire a sales company. Oh, they're going to coach me, I'll go hire a coach. And so a lot of people think, I really think it's lack of belief. It's lack of belief that what the results our folks get is possible. They just don't even have they really don't have the register. They never give it enough time, Eric. So probably greater than fear is lack of knowledge. They never really investigate it thoroughly enough to find out how it could really make a difference. So if they would engage in that mutual evaluation process and really go through those steps, and step 5, and then finally talking and visiting with franchisees, then the light bulbs can go off like, whoa, I could do this. But then, then again, it could come down to money. It's like, well, they could tell me it's fear, and really they can't afford it. Yeah. Right. So, and people, none of us want to be embarrassed. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I think that's a reality, is lack of knowledge and lack of dedicating the time to really do good due diligence. Most people looking at business, like at the Dwyer Group, we would look at buying other brands out there to grow our organization, and looking at those brands, you might look at, there might be 800 that you start with to narrow down to, to this group, till you finally get, okay, we're going to do due diligence on these 3.
Yeah.
And then the due diligence is like massive. So most people looking at buying a business don't know how to do diligence. They go off a gut feel, this or that, and they don't trust the process. And we have an 8-step process that would help them figure that out.
Yeah. And so is there like an ongoing, like a monthly fee that they're paying to DreamMaker for everything that you're doing for them? Or are you getting a percentage of, the revenue or the, profit, net income? Like, kind of how's the relationship financially between the two?
Yeah, great question. So when somebody has an existing business, there's a conversion scale that we have. So let's say if somebody's got $1 million business, they'll convert that business and they'll pay us 3% for the first 2 years of the volume they're doing. Now it's delayed. We just updated it. 3 to 6 months, it's delayed before that starts to kick in, so they can get things in place. And And then after 2 years, they go to our regular scale, which is a royalty of 7% down to as low as 3%. So if you're over $4 million, you'll be paying a 3%. Or if you're 2.5 to 4 million, you pay 5% or 4%, and then so on. And then there's a national marketing fee that they pay. We call a MAP fund, marketing, advertising, promotion, and they'll pay 2% on the first million and 1% over that. So those are the two fees. So you got to sell at higher margins to cover that. But, people aren't joining us and coming on board just to, stay still, right? So the point is, we'll help them be able to afford us and make more profit if they'll follow the system.
Yeah, I really think that's what, people need to understand is this is, you have a financial model where this is really just an operating expense for you to continue building your successful business. Like, you can make more money by being part of this group than doing it your own. It just, the collective wisdom and the knowledge and the experience and everything that comes along with this. I feel like maybe people might be thinking that, this is going to cost them so much more, that it's going to, that they're going to be giving up something. But at the end of the day, it's all relative to your growth and your success. And it's just an operating expense. It's just a cost. It really will pay for itself many times over.
Well,
if you can,
like the people in Georgia that I mentioned and the guy in Omaha, Nebraska, they are making more profit with paying us royalties than they did when they were on their own.
Yeah.
So it's just, so we also have group buying power, right? And, if you already have a design center, you may have a lot of manufacturer direct relations, but most people don't, or not, I'd say 65% don't, or they don't have it to the level that we've got it. So we're going to help them buy like a wholesaler. And so instead of buying from a wholesaler and getting 5, 10, 15% off, they're going to buy like a wholesaler and buy at 35% the cost.
Yeah.
Right. The suggested manufacturers suggested retail 35 or 50%. So their discounts go way up because of the relationships we set up for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So kind of last sort of line of questioning though, what should someone be thinking about? Let's say they join, kind of what is that exit? At some point they may want to sell their business, or maybe they just, they want to quit doing it, or they want to kind of go back out on their own. Kind of what does it look like for them to, kind of have some sort of an exit from the program?
Yeah, so we have what we call a resale toolkit we've built. And there's 3 ways to evaluate a business. You have to value it, to give what is it worth, right? So there's EBITDA, and there's owner's discretionary earnings, and then there's chunking assets. So chunking assets, we're helping sell a business right now where the guy really is not he's not performed the way we all thought he would perform. So, but we're helping him sell it based on chunking his assets. So he's getting something out of it so that he can exit. But, more of a pleasant story is like a gentleman or a couple in California where, we just have a whole process on how you do it. How do you locate a buyer? And then we support them through that. And then, that buyer realizes they're joining a bigger organization, not just buying that one location and I'm going to get 2 weeks with the owner and then I'm left alone and hope I make it. They're plugging into our whole system to help them make it.
Wow. I didn't even think about that right there, but that, a tremendous, value add. If somebody ever wants to sell their business, you're going to have already set them up financially, have very clean, organized books. Any buyer needs to be able to understand the financials, their due diligence. You're going to have already gotten them very organized. But then, man, being able to, again, the brand, the much bigger, organization that they're buying into can just, that could be a tremendous, value add, tremendous asset that comes along with this, exit. So having you guys' expertise to help somebody exit their business. I can tell you, Doug, I've seen so many times people just they have no idea how to sell a company, And they're probably, if they try to go at it alone, which I never recommend anybody go at it alone, you need to hire a banker, hire somebody who has experience, with mergers and acquisitions to really help you do that. But it sounds like that's just yet another benefit of being part of DreamMaker, is that you all bring that to the table and can help them maximize that exit when the time is right.
Yeah, Eric, I'll tell you, the gentleman that I mentioned earlier from ExxonMobil that started in the Woodlands, he's done very well. And he was looking to buy an existing business. And so he, get with a business broker. He got with a business broker to help him find something, searched, Biz Buy Sell and other portals out there that has businesses for sale. And when he went to go visit these locations, he found out they have no systems. It's all in the person's head. There's no written systems, no processes, nothing like that standardized and put in place. And then the financials, they were such a wreck, or it just made him nervous. Can I really trust these numbers? So the reason he became a DreamMaker, because he couldn't find a worthy business to buy in Houston, Texas, which is not a small area, but he couldn't find something worthy to buy. Yeah. So that tells me that most people aren't setting their business up to sell because they're not structuring it and putting the systems in place, much less having the power of a franchisor like DreamMaker behind them.
Yeah. Man, Doug, this has been really, really interesting, really insightful. I appreciate you coming on, and just being so transparent, letting me ask you all the hard questions, whatever, it was. But I think, and I really hope that all of our listeners out there, have learned more about what it's actually like, to become a franchisee and what it would take for them to do that. I feel like a lot of times it's a very unknown thing. They think they might know what it means to franchise the business and be part of that, but they really don't. Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing, firsthand what it's like to be part of, DreamMaker. And I can tell you, it's felt, very much like a family. Yep. Even just here as a software vendor and partner of yours, I can tell you, I very much value and respect the way that you run your company and the community that you have built. It really genuinely feels like you're part of a family. And that I love that, man. That's exactly what we're trying to do here with creating this JobTread community. Yep. I think it is just really, matched well for both of us. And I think there's a lot of people out there that really need to give you guys a hard look and think about, if it might make sense for them. And, what should they do if they want to reach out, if they want to learn more, what's that next step for them, Doug?
Yeah, they could just reach out. We have a department, but I'll give my email. You could just email me at doug.dwyer, DWYER, at DreamMaker, that's 2 M's, BK for bathandkitchen.com. So happy to have anybody, reach out to me, or you can reach out to me at 254-523-9577. That'll call my desk, as well as you can text me through that number as well. So, and Eric, I will say that the people that tend to become a franchise that are a conversion is, in their head, they've been thinking there's got to be a better way. Or number two is I know there's a better way and I can't figure it out on my own, and I don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? So that's what's in the back of their head, and they're willing to be coachable and they're willing to follow a system. If that fits anybody listening to this, then we're a great organization to look at to make that happen. And if you want to have strong margins and a quality life, if you want to make a difference for your team, your clients, your community, and you want to make a great profit doing it, then that's what we're about.
That's great. And, again, kudos to you, right there, President sharing his email and his cell phone number, very approachable like that. That is exactly the type of person you are, Doug. I know for a fact through our relationship that you are there to help others, and it is so obvious, so transparent. So I very much encourage anybody, if you're thinking along any of those lines that Doug just brought up for you, do reach out. I'm happy if you want to reach out to me as well. I'm happy to talk more about it, make a personal introduction, or you can reach out directly to Doug. They've also got a lot of information on their website. But look, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this. I think that this is a very valuable, podcast that will really help others for hopefully many years in the future to learn more about, DreamMaker Bath and Kitchen. And, we can't wait to have you all at JobTread Connect in January.
Yep.
You'll be able to meet Doug, his entire team face to face, and you'll also get to meet a lot of their franchises who are going to come out and participate in the event with all of you. So, again, if you don't want to take his word for it or his team, then you can just hear straight from the people who have been part of this program, and they will tell you the impact that Doug and DreamMaker have made on their business. And I highly encourage you to take that time to learn more about it, because it could be a great opportunity for all of you.
Yeah, and I want to say I don't do this alone. I have a great team that makes me look better than I am. So and you have that same thing, Eric, with your team. You've got a great team there and a great culture. I do respect how you go about it, and it's not all about money. It's about making a difference, and that's very sincere from the first time I met you, and you've been staying consistent with that. So I want to give you that same, you've earned that respect and comment.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again, Doug. Appreciate you coming on.
See ya. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.